Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end.
Welcome back to the LANCave. We're talking Star Wars, running down all of the Star Wars movies, the canon movie, the big movies, the Skywalker saga, as it were, counting down to episode 9, and we're back. What's that?
I like that term.
What, the Skywalker saga? That's what people keep referring to it as. So
I think they should call it the R2D2 saga.
he's everywhere. I mean, that boy is connected to. Is R2D2 male or female?
They normally call him. I think
so too. I mean, C-3PO's.
I've actually been watching with Disney Plus. I was watching through Star Wars Resistance, which is a show that kind of fell off my radar, cartoon Star Wars. But like they had a droid in there that specifically got referred to as she, whereas like BB-8 was a boy. This one was a girl, and like the tone was a girl. So I think that R2 referred to as a male.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a slight tangent there, but we watched Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
And actually, we watched it a couple weeks ago because we had a little delay in regards to our taping. But okay, I said before, this was my favorite movie when I was younger. It just hands down was my favorite movie as a Star Wars movie. I watched all of them, but I watched this movie repeatedly. I would watch it. I would literally rewind the VHS and watch it again. Empire's great, but this movie has so many great scenes. It has so much great action. And it's one of those situations, I think, where they filled, especially like the ending, you filled so many set pieces, so much action, completely filled to the brim, but it wasn't overload, in my opinion. It was still paced well, and I love it.
Yeah, and I see why a lot of people that are a decade older than us didn't like it whenever it came to things like the Ewoks. But that's where, again, once you recognize that this isn't supposed to be like an adult's, like it's supposed to be accessible by everybody. Yeah. The Ewoks make sense and are fun, and like there's the comedy to it. Like all three movies have those comedy moments. They have they have a lot of serious moments too. There's a lot of dark stuff that happens, but like they have those things that consistently keep it light. It was my favorite as a kid too. Since then, I've become as we mentioned when we originally talked about episode 4, like that's my favorite now. But this was completely my favorite as a kid. It had everything. Like it had our callback to Tatooine. It had Yoda. It had another Death Star. It had lightsaber fights. It had like cool battle. Like everything about like it had space battle. Like it literally combined everything from the previous two movies and threw it all in there. And so it was a ton of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that they were able to combine all of that in all those elements, especially at the end, where you have a space battle going on, you have a sabotage kind of mission going on Endor, and you have a duel going on, a lightsaber duel, all simultaneously happening. You have 3 storylines you're cutting between, and it works. It's paced well.
They cut it so good.
It's so great. This is and I talked about this on an earlier episode. One of the reasons this was my favorite when I was growing up was Jabba's palace. Sure. And I know George later on said that he was upset that the cantina wasn't enough. There wasn't enough to do. There weren't enough creatures. So Jabba's palace was his way of just completely going, as much as he could at the time, just go full throttle, go over and do as much and as many different characters as you can. And Jabba is one of the most amazing feats of puppetry ever. And all these puppets going on all at the same time. Henson's studio rocking it, Boba Fett rocking there. I absolutely love it, and this was one of the reasons.
So randomly, I have to cut it. So you saw the rotund woman,
yes,
right?
Yes.
In credits, she is literally referred to as fat woman, and I felt so.
Are you serious?
Again, because I've been watching the credits because of like the James Earl Jones things, and I was just trying to like catch different things. But she's literally referred to as fat woman, and I was like, oh.
Wow. Yeah. So I didn't look at the credits. I know you've been looking at that. It's been something you've been doing as you've been watching. That's sad. I mean, I know she was.
Yeah.
But
I
at
actually
the same
respected
time,
it at the same time. The fact that you're willing to be credited that way, I mean, not willing, I guess you signed a thing saying that you're willing. Because I'm one of those people who, like, I can call myself, like, I'm an overweight person and I don't have a problem admitting it. But it was just funny, like, that's something that I don't feel like would fly in credits these years. Like, I don't think you'd be able to just literally just call somebody a fat woman in the credits.
Yeah. Yeah, see that, I agree. And I will say that when I was younger, and even now, like when I look at that character, yeah, you can say something about like, okay, well, there's, you know, she's heavy, whatever, she's fat, she is, but also there's the kind of, I'm thinking of the right word to say this and be kind of PG, like she has instead of two breasts. Well, no. Well, you have the Twi'lek is definitely scantily clad, but the other one, the fat woman, has like 6 breasts.
Does she?
Right? Doesn't she?
No,
I thought she did. Am I like? Hold on. Am I piecing this together in my brain?
I just thought that's what she was wearing.
I thought that she had. I thought that was the animalistic part. Like it was like, oh, she's kind of alien because.
Walk by in a second here.
Right there. That's what I thought.
Her outfit.
Is it?
Yeah, I think she's just a woman.
I thought there was like. I thought there was some prosthetic here to make it look like she had multiple breasts. Pause it. Okay, maybe for some reason, I know it's not Total Recall, but like I could have sworn. Like, so it's just.
You could be interpreting it that way, but I didn't. I just always thought it was just a weird outfit that she has on, just like everybody else's.
I want to look it up.
Sorry, we don't focus on women's parts.
We don't normally, but I'm confused now.
While you're looking that up, we've been talking about like we've been talking about new things that we noticed, what bugs us, and favorite things. So what a thing that I had never honed in on. I was watching the scroll at the beginning of the movie, and during the scroll it says the second Death Star, a more powerful Death Star. I want to know what made it more powerful. It seemed pretty much the same. I'm sure that there's some kind of thing in the Return of the Jedi book, or in the novelization maybe, like what made it more powerful, but there was no indication really like what made this Death Star particularly more menacing. And that's again another one of people's issues with Return of the Jedi, and then subsequently episode 7 was that it's just like, why are you using this device again? But I'd never seen it. I was like, I wonder what made it more powerful than the first Death Star, other than not building a ventilation port in the
yeah, that was about it. So apparently you may be right. I guess it's just what she was wearing. Yeah. So the slots, I assumed that's what that was for. I can't find anyone talking about it online. Apparently I'm the only one talking about it. That's what I always thought it was. I thought she was some alien, and that was like part of her alien physiology, not in a sexual way, but maybe Jabba thought it was. I don't know. Anyways, we don't normally talk about that kind of stuff on here.
Jabba was he was not outcast by the Hutts, but like the Hutts thought Jabba was weird because he liked humanoid women.
Yeah.
Anyways, was there anything new that you noticed?
New that I noticed? I don't think so. Whitney and I were talking about like she was misremembering something where the conversations where during Empire and Jedi kind of mixed up. She was mixing up Yoda talking about there is another when he talked to Obi-Wan, and then in this movie when he says there is another Skywalker, and she turned to me and she was like, didn't he say that in the last one? I'm like, yeah, that was with Obi-Wan though. I can't remember anything that I didn't notice before in this one. How about you?
well, the new thing was the scroll.
What's the scroll? Okay.
Yeah, nothing else that particularly stood out as like I've never thought about that. Sadly, I wrote down like a few things that bugged me, but I'll kind of like I'll take the new thing. So this Death Star was more powerful. What made it more powerful? So the first main thing that bugged me was that it's the second Death Star. It was kind of like, what was the point? And then even as a character, like Darth Vader was known to not care about the Death Star. He didn't care about the first Death Star, and I'm pretty sure he didn't care about the second Death Star either. He just did it because that's what the Emperor told him to do, because he didn't need it. Like, he's Darth Vader. Like,
yeah.
He just, he'll go mess up anybody he really wants to. It didn't really make it made the Empire obviously more formidable, but at the same time, it seemed like a big waste of resources. But I just don't know why that they resorted to doing that, other than to give them kind of this like last stand type victory thing where like it gives them an excuse to have the Emperor in the movie, and have him accessible. And then after that, I don't know why they wrote in the second Death Star.
No, I agree. I think part of it was, and I always envisioned that this Death Star was larger than the first. I think when it said more powerful, I just kind of assumed that. No, I agree. Other than that, I mean, I guess they wanted to give a reason for them to do that. I don't think it had to be a Death Star. I think they could have easily said, "Hey, we found out the Emperor is going to be here, and he's going to be the spice mining vessel or whatever it is, and no one's going to be there. So, or minimal forces. So we're all going to attack then." And I think that would have worked as well. But yeah, it's an excuse to have a Death Star again, because it's a Death Star.
I honestly think like you see it more in this movie than you really do in the Super Star Destroyers. Look sick. How do you say it? Do you say Executor?
Okay, I used to say Executor. Okay. And then I was corrected in a Lego store, and it was one of the like most demeaning moments of my life, because this like 19-year-old kid is like, "You mean the Executor?"
Okay, well, as long as I'm right.
Yeah, so you're right. I used to call it the Executor, like, until I think I was 32 or 33. And then I'm like, of course it's Executor. Why would it be? It wouldn't be an Executor. It'd be like an Executioner. So I was like, stupid.
That ship is so sick.
Oh, it's amazing.
Such good camera shots of it. It looked so... I was like, just stick the Emperor on. It looks so cool. Anyways, I have a couple other things that kind of bugged me. Do you have any bug you type things?
The only thing that bugs me, some of the pacing before we get to the real nitty gritty, some of the pacing bugged me there. Also, there are a few bits that I think they're subtle. And you know what? Actually, I just remembered one of the things that I didn't notice before. And I don't know how I didn't notice it before. So when they are taking over that bunker on Endor to get into to disable the shield generator, so they get in, and a couple of the rebels dress up as stormtroopers, and it's really subtle. But for some reason, I didn't notice it before. Where they're like going in, and you see a couple of the rebels like put on the stormtrooper outfits and then stand guard, so that way there's someone in front that makes it still look like it's normal. I never noticed it before.
I just thought they were holding the stormtrooper there.
I thought there was some misremembering. By the way, I double checked, and she is listed as having 6 breasts, and there was a Kenner considered selling an action figure, but thought it would be inappropriate. So I was right. It is not just the cut of her outfit, and they refer to her in the novels. They refer to her having kids, and they refer to them as cubs. I'm assuming because of that animalistic thing. Yeah,
sure. Because you're talking about the first time they get there, right? Before they get caught.
I think it's the first time
before the Ewoks show up.
It's before the Ewoks show up, because the second time, like, it's just all
right. So they like do the thing where they like tap him on the shoulder and he's like, hey, and then he runs away and it's like everybody's there. I guess what I thought is that they're just holding that stormtrooper there and somebody's kind of just off to the side because whenever they open the door, you still see a stormtrooper standing there, and I just assumed it was the same stormtrooper.
Yeah, I think, and if I'm remembering this correctly, that they like I'm pretty sure that they were going in, and then you could see like that they were like resituating themselves and making it look like it. I'll have to double check it again, but I'm pretty sure that was in there. But again, there's some things that I love about this movie. There's not a lot of things that I dislike, but I think you and I were joking about this. Have joked about it before. I know I've joked around with a lot of people about it, but obviously the Ewoks capture Han and Chewie and Luke, and they're going to cook them, which I thought was funny. Why I don't understand why they were cooking Chewie. Like I would imagine that they would. I don't know. Would have some more empathy. He's not an Ewok, but I would imagine there'd be some type of empathy, kind of like if humans that don't eat things that look like people. But then at the end, when they have like all the stormtrooper armor and the stormtrooper helmets, it's like they had a feast. I mean, come on.
That'd be funny if that's what they ate.
I think they eat whatever. I just think they eat whatever. It's like they're scavengers. I mean, it's scavengers, but like they're hunters, and they just had all this meat like dropped on their table. It's like, we're gonna feast.
Yeah, but I doubt like the other humans were eating. But who knows? Yeah. You were probably right.
Other humans would.
Before I mention the other couple of things that bugged me, like that, and it's more story related than it is movie related because I do love the movie. But since you brought up the part where they're about to cook them, so I specifically wrote this down where 3PO, he's like talking about, I think they think that I'm some sort of god. Yeah. And Solo's like, so why don't you use your divine influence? And this line was it's against my programming to impersonate a deity. I was like, what? Who wrote that? Like, when did Anakin put that line of programming in there where you're not allowed to impersonate a deity?
Well, it's something you shared something earlier. Was it you that shared it, or was it Robert? I can't remember. Someone shared the meme of the husband, wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, and the guy's like thinking, like the girl's like, "Oh, I bet he's thinking another."
Oh, somebody shared that to my wall.
Okay, it's the guy was thinking, how can, if he was built by a slaver kid, how is he programmed in 6 million forms of communication? Great points in that comment section about like it could have been when Bail Organa wiped his memory. It could have been that something else was or
I found it. It's a chip that he has.
It is a chip. Okay. Yeah. Was it when did he get it? Like from the beginning?
Yeah.
I'm assuming from the beginning. Okay.
It's just a standard protocol droid chip.
That makes sense. So I guess part of standard protocol droids is they're not allowed to emulate deities. I'm sure that as you think of like the list of things, like, and you also think like if you're creating an AI, you're not going to think of all those rules. Yeah. But when there's a specific rule, I think of George Carlin. Like when there's a very specific rule, someone did that. So I'm just thinking like some droid like was like, oh, I'll just pretend to be a deity, and you're like, I got to knock that off. Put that in the code.
I just love the line so much I don't know why.
It's so specific.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
Yeah, not to impersonate a person of authority or anything like that. Nope. Deity. So good.
So the two things that bother me are both like lore related things. Okay. So I don't know how deep we want to get into them.
Let's do it.
One. When Luke's about to tell Leia that he's her brother, he asks her what she remembers about her mother, her real mother.
Sure.
We had never heard any recognition that Leia knew that she was adopted, because Brea Organa, which is her adoptive mother, didn't die until recently. She died when Alderaan got blown up. Yeah. So at what point does Leia know that she is an adopted kid?
Yeah, it doesn't line up. It doesn't line up with the prequels.
It doesn't at all.
Because Natalie Portman should have ran off with the kids.
Yeah, for at least a little while.
Yeah, sure.
Because she, She was very beautiful, which Natalie Portman is, and she was sad, which Natalie Portman would have been. It's literally what killed her, apparently.
Yep.
We'll talk about that when we get to Revenge of the Sith. But there's no indication in the first 3 movies that she knows that she's adopted at all. So I don't know where they came up with that. Because he specifically says the line, "Do you remember your mother, your real mother?"
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in the novelization somewhere. It makes me want to read I've never read the novelizations of any of the movies. So that bothered me. It's a thing where like you have to look past it because they've already changed that, but it's one of those like weird moments where I would have never noticed that as a kid.
Yeah.
And I didn't even remember it until I watched it again. Yeah. I remember him asking if he remembered her, but I never remembered him specifically saying your real mother.
Yeah. I wonder to play devil's advocate, because a lot of the people, and I'm not doing this, but a lot of people online will like try to jump through mental gymnastics to try to make things work. Like, I wonder if that was her forced sensitivity, because all she says is that she was sad and she was beautiful, and that's really all that those babies get a look at, is like a pretty woman crying and then she's dead. So maybe that's because she said, she doesn't say that she remembers like a feeling or something like that.
She says, do you remember her? And she says, just a little bit. Okay. Remember, she was very beautiful, but sad. And then why are you asking?
Yeah.
So there's no... I think she did say she died when I was very little. So she didn't... I don't think she was specific in age or anything like that.
Yeah. Go ahead, though.
So yeah, so that's just... It's one of those things that they obviously eventually changed, but like even as you knew at that point in the movie that Anakin was now her father too, so that means that Bail Organa's not. But how was she supposed to know that?
Yeah, she shouldn't have. And I always did like where she was like. Of course, it doesn't work out if you've been following along and you've been watching them sequentially like we have been, because when he says that Leia is his sister, she's like, I know, somehow I've always known. And I'm like, you kissed him like twice in the last movie. You kissed him on the cheek in the first movie, and then she kisses him twice, once when no one else is around. Yeah, people talk about Hoth like, oh, it was for show. I'm like, and then after Bespin, she kisses him. So,
wasn't that like a cheek kiss though?
I don't think so.
The second one?
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna double check.
Whenever she said that though, I think that's more just like that feeling. Like you know that like because in A New Hope again, like she's like, here's the furlock, and then the one that was in front of Han was definitely just to piss Han off. It's one of those things where it's like she didn't actually know, but like she just, it's one of those weird force feeling type things. But yeah, at the same time, you have to be like, you don't always know, it's just a good line. Yeah. It's a good line to write in there. And then again, I hate whenever I find things about the movies that I like. Whenever we get to like Attack of the Clones, so there's gonna, which I don't know if we're gonna have time. No, I haven't watched that one yet. I watched Phantom though. The Luke's obsession with there still being good in Vader.
Yeah.
Dude's a murderer, man. Vader's a straight stone cold murderer. He's killed tens, if not hundreds, of people by his own hand. He killed so many Jedi. He killed kid Jedi. That's not counting all the other people he's killed. We've seen him force choke a dude. We've seen him lift a dude up and kill him in the movie. Like, we've seen him do all these kinds of crazy things. And then we see what he does like as he starts to go evil in the prequels, even though I guess, and again, we'll talk about that with Attack of the Clones.
Sure.
But I don't get this redemption arc for murderers. Like, there's a point to where it's like, hey, if you're like on the edge, and you've had some questionable things, like we see in like Rogue One, right? Yeah. Where that dude like kills that guy who's about to expose that he's a rebel spy. Like, I get that there's going to be some moral ambiguity there, but like Vader's a murderer.
He is. He totally is a murderer. Well, and I think that when he's like, I sense there's still good in him. Like, I'm like, is there? Like, yeah, insert Thor meme there, but like, I don't know if. I think part of it was Luke is naive. That's part of his character, is the naivety. So maybe that is what that was getting at. Side note, as we were talking, I Googled the every kiss ranked. All right. And you know what? We have worst one there. I'm not going to go through every single one. They even talk about the kiss on the hand with Lando.
Yeah.
Right. And Leia's kiss after Cloud City to Luke isn't even on the list. I think people just block it out of their memories or something.
I don't remember it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so it's after she rescues him, and he's all like,
I thought it was a kiss like on the head.
It's either on the head or I can't. Like I thought it was on the mouth. But
okay.
Either way, we're talking about kisses on the hand. We're talking about where the cheek kiss is also in here, for luck kiss
from A New Hope, yeah.
In A New Hope. But I'm like, but the other one isn't on here. Like even I mean, the fact that there are 17 kisses in the series, and we're ranking them, there should be one more. So, anyways, I think that I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the quasi controversy about the gold bikini. It's one of the most iconic things in here, but you heard what Carrie Fisher said about it, right? When
I'm sure I have at some point.
So I'll paraphrase it because I don't want to curse on here, but like she was talking about like the outrage for the toys having the gold bikini and everything, and like, well, what do we tell my daughter? How do I tell my daughter about this or whatever? And she was like, you tell them that I was captured, I was forced to wear that, and I took it off as soon as I could. There's other expletives in there, but as well, but like that's a good point there, and I feel like. It's funny because I think the same people who are objecting to it now were not objecting to it when they were adolescents, for obvious reasons. But
and why are you going to come after the actor?
Yeah, they were coming after the actor, but they're coming after the actor, but also saying they should pull the toys off the off the shelves and everything. It's like, but why? That's a good teaching moment in so many ways. I don't know.
Well, that's where again we can go down a whole political line of thinking where it's like what business is it, like what it like do you have a son who walks around without a shirt on?
No, I
walk around my own house without my shirt on all the time. Like,
yeah,
I've stepped out onto my patio without a shirt on before. Like, I understand that a woman isn't going to do that, but at least in the States they do walk in many countries. Man,
I'm in Florida and people walk around here in bikinis.
Yeah, and okay, but like anytime where it's like somebody's coming after like the actor for that, I'm like, it was in the script. That's what you tell your daughter. If it was in the script and I was getting paid and I wasn't naked.
Yeah, and
even if I was naked, it would have been rated R.
And she strangles Jabba. Like as soon as she gets a minute, she strangles Jabba.
She's a BA, is what she is.
Yeah,
we're talking about how she like literally like killed a bounty hunter, took their armor, dressed up in their armor, shows up at Jabba's palace to rescue her dude, like because like her dude was stupid and got caught. Like,
Yep. And actually, you know what? That's another thing that I forgot. Maybe I didn't notice it before, but I was more prominent this time. Was right before they leave, she's also the one who sets up that gun to shoot at the end. That destroys everything.
Yeah, Luke tells her
to do that. So,
aim it at the deck.
So she aims it at the deck. So like she's helpless until the right moment, but at the same time she's only helpless because she was like, all these people are going to attack me and he's strangling me. And as soon as she had a moment, she strangled him to death and then like created the situation or put that in place to blow up the Jabba's sail barge. So it's awesome. It's awesome stuff. We could keep going.
We could. The last thing that I wrote down was just, and we don't really need to go in depth about it, but since you brought up his naivety, why do you throw away his lightsaber whenever he's like, I'll never turn to the dark side? Of like, does he not does he not feel like the dark side emanating off the Emperor, that the Emperor can probably do something to him if he throws away his lightsaber? Like, why would you ever get rid of your weapon?
And Yoda straight up says, like, do not underestimate the power of the Emperor, because he's totally like saying, look, this isn't just your normal like villain. This is unlike anyone that you've ever ran into in your entire life. This man is smarter. He's thinking 10 steps ahead. He's not only powerful, but he's intelligent. If you give him like an inch, he's going to take you. And yeah, and he almost did.
Yeah.
Actually, he technically, take that back. He
did.
He did. The Emperor won. If it wasn't for his dad turning back, it would have been.
And even then, that's where I don't think of Anakin. I know that they showed it. I know that they showed his Force Ghost and everything at the end, showing that like he had ascended. But so did the Emperor. The Emperor ascends to like that same thing. So I don't know if that's special to me. And again, I don't see him as redeemed. Like, I know that I'm in the minority on that one. He's not redeemed to me. People are gonna save their kid. Like, that's different. Like, you could be a stone cold murderer and save your child at the same time. Like, yeah. And so I never think of Anakin as redeemed. I never think, like, that's where I don't, and this is just the weird thing that I have where I don't understand like where people like villains. It's like the thing with like the Joker and stuff where like people love the Joker and I'm like, you love a psychopath. Like I get he's a great character, he's an awesome character, but at the same time, like, you're meant to not like him, not to so I really don't think of him as redeemed, but that's again, I know that I'm not. I know that everybody else probably considers like, yeah, he turned back to the good side.
I think he redeemed himself and he turned it back to the good side if it is a binary, if the Force and everything is binary.
Okay.
Which I think that's probably how people feel about it, but at the same time, as we know, there's a gradients of that. And there's the whole Gray Jedi and Bendu and everything. Like, it's more than just I'm good or I'm bad. Like, when you see Anakin fall, which we will be watching as we watch the prequels.
Yeah.
It's not like, he was doing great. He was such a paragon. He was one of the greatest Jedi Knights. And then, like, he had a bad day and his wife cheated on him. And he's just like,
had a bad day.
No, but that's what happens. Like, it's not just one bad day. First of all, he already has the deck stacked against him, and he makes bad decisions. He keeps making bad decisions. People try to help him and shouldn't have been training him, and it's more than just one moment.
Yeah.
We could point to moments where we think like that was it. Like the Tusken Raiders and his mother was probably one of, if not the moments. But at the same time, like, it's not just that. Like, he wasn't perfect, and then that happened. So,
yeah. Now I'm watching Clone Wars. Now that I have it was on Netflix before, but I'm on a very big Star Wars kick right now. I'm watching Resistance and Clone Wars and seeing where there was some maturity in there, and so it's really it's going to be interesting whenever I get to Revenge of the Sith here in a few weeks. I've watched through Phantom Menace. I don't think we're going to get to Phantom Menace tonight, but I think one of these weeks we need to like double up. But
I think we'll have to do that. I'm thinking next week, if we can, do Phantom Menace and Attack.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I think we can bundle those.
What's crazy about Return of the Jedi? There's so much good stuff in there. Just like there is in Empire. Like, we haven't even talked about like the space battle stuff. Like, it's so good. We talked about the Super Star Destroyer, which was excellent. But you really don't like get like where you see like the rebellion and like how small the rebellion really is, because like that was their fleet. That was it. That was all they had that showed up there. And you still see like how many like Star Destroyers there were in comparison, and you just see like, I don't know how you guys are matching these leaders. Especially was what's his face there? Was Grand Moff what?
Tarkin died in
not Tarkin. First. No, the blue dude.
Oh, Thrawn? Thrawn's not there.
Thrawn wasn't at that battle?
If I'm not mistaken, he wasn't.
Okay, because I was like, Thrawn would have just owned them. Because Piet was not good. Like, he's just a rule follower. Like you can see where his start. Like he was on the. No, I'm gonna say. I was about to say executor. The executor. He was on the executor and lost that fight. It's it's crazy to think like that was it. All they had to do was win, and I still don't see how they necessarily didn't.
I don't think that. I think the win there, destroying the Emperor, it's more than just like, oh, they won, they blew up another Death Star. It was like the Emperor's dead. I'm not even going to say the majority of the Imperial fleet was dead, but it was so helpless after that. You no longer have a Senate. You just have the Emperor. And you have a bunch of admirals who, not even a bunch of admirals, a couple of admirals and commanders that were left over afterwards. And I think that's why you still have stragglers, and then eventually they become
eventually
First
they get
Order.
to the Battle of Jakku. And that's where the Empire like fell.
Yeah.
If you play Battlefront 2. I just thought, I guess it could be like not, a worker ant type thing. Like, did they have the will to fight after they saw the Death Star get destroyed? Because like that fleet was humongous. I just don't see how they didn't keep fighting. I'm guessing maybe with the Death Star, there was like, oh no, and maybe they ran away. They don't really explain that, but
I think that's what it was. I think it was so much. It's part of it's a worker ant kind of thing. Part of it is like, okay, we lost the Death Star, and they're like they have the upper hand. Let's leave to live another day. Because it's so much shock with the Emperor dying in it, with the Death Star blowing up and everything. But yeah, that battle's great, and I love the line where Han. I mean, it's great because it shows the gravity of the situation where Han is in the shuttle and he's looking at the Falcon and he says that he just has a feeling it's the last time he's going to see her. Yeah, and which is great because that is the last time that he sees it until. In the movies, at least, until Force Awakens. He obviously flew the Falcon in between, but from a movie perspective, that's the last time he sees the Falcon.
And that's going to be a thing that I look up whenever we get to Episode 7, because I never looked far enough into it to know how the Falcon wound up on Jakku.
Yeah, so he sold it to someone or lost it in a bet. I'll have to double check.
We'll get there.
I think it only went through one other pair of hands before Han gets it back and then gifts it to Rey. But either way, we will get to more Star Wars next time. We could keep talking Star Wars for hours. We're going to wrap it up though. So we'll talk about more Star Wars next time. We're going to talk about. I feel like Episode 1 could almost be its own thing. We're going to at least talk about Episode 1, maybe Episode 1 and Episode 2, and ramble more Star Wars. So let us know in the comments what your favorite Star Wars movie is, and do you love Return of the Jedi? Do you want more Muppets and puppets? Because I do. Bye.
Bye.